Hi, I'm Darren, and welcome back to PC Journal. Have you ever stopped to consider families that are at risk financially and the struggles that they go through? That maybe even it's difficult for them to have something we might consider as basic as clean clothes to go to work with each day or to go to school with? Well, we heard about an organization that's out there helping kids have clean clothes, parents to have clean clothes to go out when they leave the house each day. And today we're going to meet the founder of Current Initiatives, Jason Sowell. So stay tuned as we talk to Jason Sowell about the Laundry Project. Welcome back to Positively Christian. As we've stated in our earlier videos, we want to know about the people who are doing it right out in the community, the people who are being Jesus to folks who are hurting outside the walls of the church. To do that, today we have an interview with Jason Sowell. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
I've known Jason for close to 10 years. When I first met him, he was a youth minister in a new up and growing church in the Tampa area. And today he is the founder and head of an organization called Current Initiatives. So Jason, I understand there's at least 3 different organizations that kind of fall under the umbrella of Current Initiatives.
Right.
And the one I'm most familiar with, and let's start with that, is the Laundry Project. So tell us a little bit about how that got started.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was my idea, excuse me, but I'm not that smart. It was some friends of mine in Southern California they had started a church and they were doing some outreach for homeless people. And they discovered that laundry was one of the biggest problems that homeless people struggle with, and so they started helping some homeless people get to a laundromat, pay for the laundry and stuff like that. And so I had heard about it. I was in Southern California at the time and kind of watched it happen. And it dawned on me that not just for homeless people, but just lower income families in general, one of the biggest struggles that they have is laundry, and most people take it for granted. So I came back to Tampa and I thought it's a brilliant idea. It's one of those needs that we take for granted, no one thinks about. So let's go figure out how to do it and make this work to help people with laundry.
Sure. So. I was sharing with another friend this morning about our upcoming interview today and telling her about that. And of course, she's pretty financially comfortable, I would say, today, but she shared a memory with me back when her children were very young, and she says, oh yeah, she said, we were in an apartment, we didn't have a washer and dryer, and so we had to save up our nickels and dimes and go out usually late at night when I could get 5 or 6 washers at one time.
Right.
And she said that was an issue for us many, many years ago, and she says, I can see where it's still an issue out there today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a very real choice that families are making between do we buy groceries or do we wash our clothes? Mm-hmm. And to me, that should not be a choice anyone has to make. But we know food's always going to win out. Mm-hmm. So as a result, you have a lot of families, a lot of kids going to school without clean clothes. You have a lot of families that go months on end without washing blankets, without washing clothes, and it's all trickled down from there. You have a kid going to school that we tell kids all the time, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up. Mm-hmm. You put your mind to it, work hard, get an education, you can do anything you want. And the fact is, I can't expect a kid to believe that when he can't see past the fact that I don't even have clean clothes to go to school. I don't even have clean clothes to wear to school. I don't want to go to school, first of all, because I'm going to get picked on. There's no motivation. How to expect them to study and have a good attitude and want to learn when I can't even put on clean clothes to go to school.
That's amazing. I hadn't really thought of it even from that aspect, but that's a great ministry. So mentioning it as a ministry, how do you then draw back to the fact that, okay, we're here, do you come right out up front and say, hey, we're doing laundry for Jesus, or how do you then bring that back to your faith in Christ?
Yeah, usually in those environments, people ask. They want to know why this random group of people is in their laundromat, paying for the laundry, and truly with no strings attached. That's usually the first question is, what are you doing here? What do you want from me? Mm-hmm. Is this real? What do you want? And so after a few minutes of them getting acclimated and realizing we don't want anything from them, we're just here to pay for your laundry. We've got the supplies soap and all that kind of stuff. We truly just want you to know that you're loved. They ask the question. You don't have to bring it up. They start asking the question. Why are you here? They make assumptions like, are you from a church? Are you, and then they ask why are you doing this? My standard answer in that environment when someone asks me is I say, listen, I believe that God cares about every detail of your life. Something as simple as you having clean clothes, clean laundry. And that's why we're here, to show that to you. And then if we have a local church or an organization like that that's working with us, that are volunteers, then we kind of turn it over to them and said, for example, Darren over here, this is Darren, he's from such and such church that's around the corner. They're all volunteering here today. This is John or, whoever. And then here's the conversation, you guys take it where it goes. And wherever that conversation goes, great. But I'm also a believer in that you don't have to, I think church world, we try to force the spoken gospel on people a little too much sometimes. We kind of sometimes start with that rather than disarming first and just letting who we are be the evidence of what we would tell them about faith.
So kind of going back to the phrase that I've heard in times past that say Christianity is better caught than taught.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Before, what's the other saying that goes, they don't care about how much you know till they know how much you care. I mean, there's a couple of things that maybe seem a little trite, but you're actually putting them into action out there.
Yeah, we're trying to. And some of that for me comes from the Gospels themselves. When I read the Gospels, what I see in those stories is, it dawned on me one day that Jesus is traveling from to these different places, and he's doing his thing. But the reason most of these people are coming to him are not because he's offering eternal life to them. The reason all these crowds are coming there is because they heard about this guy that healed the blindness of a guy who was born blind.
Yes.
Or fed the hungry, or healed the leper, or did all these things. He met a physical need that they had in the moment. And they all came to them with the attitude of, if I can just get to where this person is, maybe he'll do that for me. And then he coupled that, once he healed that, he said, go and sin no more, and follow me. But the reason these crowds came was not so much about he was saying something different, but he was doing something different.
Yes. Now, you mentioned that you caught the vision when you were in Southern Cal, and it seems to me, if my memory is correct, you kind of started the laundry project with some other friends of ours that we have, and you kind of got involved in the Tampa area, but now you actually go outside that. I think I saw on Facebook the other day that you had been in Ohio.
Yeah.
So what other places are you going, and how do you get to those places? How do you find out, and why do you choose those?
Yeah, so we have a second office now in Canton, Ohio, that they're constantly a few times a month doing laundry projects all over the Ohio area. We go to let's see, where else? I gotta remember these. Las Vegas, which is the first place outside of Tampa Bay that we started doing laundry projects, was Las Vegas. Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas. Ohio, Chicago. We've done a couple in San Francisco, a couple areas like that, but consistently those particular places. We got into that. Ohio ended up just because there was a college kid there who he grew up poor. He was homeless for a little bit. Ended up putting himself through college. Went to a Christian university there in Canton called Malone University. And while he was there, one of the things that he remembered struggling with as a kid was laundry. And so he wanted to go do something in that town to help with laundry. And he started getting some of his college friends together and like grabbing quarters and trying to collect quarters. But he was just showing up at the laundromat and just, here's a box of quarters and leaving it. And that was kind of it. So somewhere along the line, someone had come across a news article about our projects and sent it to him. And he contacted me and said, hey, I know you don't know me. This is my story. Would you be willing to coach me or teach me how to do this, because I want to do this in my town. So for a year, without having met him in person, just via email and phone calls, I kind of coached him and helped him get started. And for probably a year after that, he did it on his own, with no He didn't have a nonprofit organization. He was just doing it and collecting quarters. And so a couple of years ago, we ended up kind of adopting him into our organization and hired him and just kind of officially made that, let's give you some legitimacy because we are a nonprofit organization. So that's been going from there. Las Vegas ended up because I went there on a mission trip a few years ago, right after I'd started Current Initiatives. And I was there to do some other stuff. And while I was there, I decided, hey, let's try to put together a laundry project while we're here. And at that point we had done maybe 2 or 3 here in Tampa. So we had nothing. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. You know, we didn't have any signs. I didn't have any piece of paper to give to somebody that at least looks like we know what we're talking about. Right. And I just showed up at a laundromat and ended up talking to the owner and said, hey, this is this thing that I do. Do you mind if we bring a group of people here tomorrow and just pay for people's laundry? And they thought we were scam artists to begin with. At first they were like, okay. They didn't believe we were actually going to show up. Right. So the next day we did, and it turned out to be a great thing. And so I just fell in love with that city, with Las Vegas. It's a city like no other. It's very much what people believe about Las Vegas, that it is, all the craziness and all the partying, everything that people typically think of Las Vegas, but at the same time, it's very much the opposite of that. And when you get outside that's one very concentrated part of Las Vegas. When you get out of that part of Las Vegas, there's a whole nother world, and it's mostly impoverished. Yeah.
I imagine there are some pastors who are watching this right now who are kind of starting to drool a little bit as they think about, gosh, there's so many things we would like to do, I would like to lead our church to do, but I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. I've got so many things. And then you talk about somebody who stepped up on his own and said, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then you heard about him. And I can imagine there are churches out there and pastors, leadership who are saying, man, if somebody in my congregation would step up and say, I want to do this project, and I'm not going to ask you, pastor, to spend your time and energy to lead it. I know how overwhelmed you are. I just want your blessing, and I want you to come along and support us. So I imagine there's a lot of them right now that are looking and go, man, I'd love to have 3 or 4 of those guys or gals step up and find something, whether it's a laundry project, whether it's something to help feed hungry people or with electric bills. I can imagine that they're out there, and they are. And pastors are people, and we hope that they'll get in touch with us and we'll connect them with you. Well, we've been talking to Jason Sowell with Current Initiatives about some of his projects, and we're going to continue this. There's a lot here that Jason's involved in, much more than I even knew. It's bigger, and it's a fantastic program. So we invite you to come back to check in regularly with Positively Christian on our website at positivelychristian.org, as well as onto our Facebook page and our YouTube pages. And tune in again with us as we continue to talk with Jason about the other projects that Current Initiatives has going on. Jason, thank you for being here, and we look forward to you coming back.